Hello, everyone, and welcome to this mini-series, Your Multidimensional Self. I'm Athena Melchizedek, your host, and before we get stuck in, I invite you to just bring yourself into a comfortable position, relaxing, turning off any distractions, just opening yourself up to receiving in full presence and enjoying this presentation. This is actually split into 3 different presentations or mini presentations. The first part is all about energy, second part about consciousness, and the third part about the path inward to your multidimensional being. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. I thought this was worth just putting in to remind us all that the truth of this statement, all external change is an inside job. And I'm trusting that by the time we've finished in this little series, that you will have a better understanding of why this is true and why it is so necessary that we address this at this time of our planetary evolution and our own evolution. So before we start, just wanted to give you a little bit of information about myself. Just like you, I am a unique expression of Source, and my job here currently is to support the correction of any distortions in individual, collective, and planetary fields of consciousness, and to enable the restoration to the original angelic human blueprint, with particular emphasis on the restoration of the divine feminine principle. I do this by being a mentor to individuals and groups, a mentor and a facilitator of visionary leaders. So that means anyone who is concerned with bringing forth new ways of being, new ways of living, new ways of being together in community. We're here to create something much better than we've been struggling with over these past eons. So this is for you. A visionary leader is someone who realizes that they are sovereign and free, and they are their own leader, or are becoming their own leader. So instead of following another, this is what a true visionary leader is. They take full self-responsibility. So the way that this works is that I specialize in multidimensional shadow work. This is a key piece. Shadow means that which is in the unconscious mind. It's not the only part of the being that I work with, but it is a very important part, because this is a very often difficult part to access. And so this is my specialty. And I do that through deep psychoenergetic exploration with individuals and groups, and high frequency energy transmissions. And we use the power of the group to enhance the process and to accelerate the process for all. So it's really cool work. And if you're interested, I invite you to let me know, and you can become a member of one of the groups or one of the pods that are working on this great mission. So I'm also an author. I have written one book so far, and I'm just in the process of completing another. I'm a gardener. I love to garden. Above all things, I love gardening, but I don't always get the time that I would like for that. And I guess you could call me a modern mystic, with all the different aspects of my own being that have come online during my long life. It's really been a fantastically wild ride, and it continues to be so. Yeah, just very quickly, I have a background in business, and the loss of my family when I was a young woman set me on a seeker's course for the answers to the meaning of it all. It was very traumatic, but this happening in my life took me all over the world and opened up my interest in many, many different aspects of spirituality and many different modalities. I became interested in Eastern mysticism and already had a background in a Christian upbringing. So I had quite a really good, rich base. Later in my life, when I lost my business and my partner and my home all in one go, within a matter of about 3 months, this is what I call the great cosmic slap. And this really catapulted me into a very, very deep dive then into my own multidimensional self. And I studied extensively with a variety of renowned spiritual teachers in both secular and indigenous traditions in North America, South America, and Canada, and more recently in India. And, more important than all of that is that I actually do embody what I'm sharing with you. I give nothing that I have not experienced myself. And I think this is really important these days, the authenticity of a sharing. And that's what it is. It is not, I'm not teaching and I'm not preaching. I'm sharing who I am or who I have become and am becoming. It continues. It's a continual journey. So yes, I mentioned I was an author. The Quantum Keys came through me in 2017. And it was quite a shock, really, because it's concerning how the science is now converging with the ancient wisdom. And I really did not have a science background at all. So that was quite, it was quite a ride bringing that through. And it concerns not just quantum physics, but all aspects of the different modalities, different sciences that are responsible for explaining the nature of reality. So this is everything from quantum physics to cosmology, cellular biology, biophysics, all of it. So and how this is merging with the ancient esoteric teachings to form a map, really, of our existence. So it also maps out a personal transformation that occurs within a human being when they shift from a purely physical-based perception to energy consciousness-based understanding of reality and the reorientation of life that this involves. And it gives you some tools and practices to support this process. So all in all, it's a pretty cool book. I use it myself regularly as a reference book. Yes, that sounds crazy. Yes, I did write it, but it did, it was downloaded through me. And so I go back into it regularly and use it as a reference book. And I can recommend it for anyone who's connected into the healing arts, or to anyone who is wanting to know more about the underlying principles of the science that underlies all of this now. So, yeah, there's that for you. And then who is the presentation for? Well, it's obviously for you because you're here. But it's all for all seekers on the path to exploring their expansion of consciousness that is happening now all across the world. There is a great awakening happening. That means that people are becoming more and more aware as their consciousness expands. So, divine presence is who we truly are. And it's really only the accumulations of physical, emotional, and mental distortions that obscure us from the very core of our own being. So this has been my path. And so I'd now like to share with you that what I've learned is that wisdom is knowledge that is embodied, practiced, and applied. So knowledge on its own is pretty meaningless, because unless we can use it in a way that is beneficial and improving of a situation, then it's not really very useful. And the key piece here is that we don't have to keep doing the same thing over and over that makes us sad and miserable and brings us into suffering. This is the whole point of learning about who we truly are. We don't have to keep recycling the same old stuff. So I hope that this will become clearer as we move through the material. So as I said, this is part 1, all about energy. And we're going to dive right into the quantum field, and it's purposely on this dark black background because it looks empty. Your screen looks empty. And perhaps the quantum field looks empty to those who can see it. We are actually sitting in the quantum field. You are sitting in it now. I am sitting in it. It's the space that we exist in. And there are many different names for it. There's the quantum field, the quantum potential field, the 0 point field, the void, the source field. All of these things, all of these descriptors are the same. And the key point about it is that it's not empty. It may seem that way to the physical eye, but actually the space that we sit in is teeming with particles of energy ready to explode into a manifested reality. This is the truth. It's cool. So let's explore this. An atom is 99.9% space. What you see in front of you is an actual photograph. It's what they call a spectrograph of an atom. And it's only the central point of the atom is matter. Everything else is energy that is revolving or orbiting round it, which is the electron, orbiting round what we call the nucleus, or the proton and neutron in the middle, in the center of the atom. So it's 99.9% space, and you and I and everything else in manifested reality is made from atoms, and of course the much smaller particles. So this in itself should be a clue to the nature of our physical being. So what we consider as solid, and solid to the touch, like the table that you're sitting at, the computer that you're watching, the chair you're sitting on, even your own body, it feels to your sense of touch solid, but in actual fact it's space, 99.9% space. And it only feels solid and looks solid because this is the information that our physical senses are bringing back to the brain for processing. But in actual fact, it's not the truth of the nature of our being. So let's take a dive into what we're truly made from. So all physical matter is created by movement in space. So we have the quantum field, or quantum potential field, full of energy that is just waiting to come into existence and into form. Movement occurs in space, and this in turn creates a vibration that produces sound waves. And the very first product of vibration and sound are photons of light. And the light is moving at a certain speed. The speed with which it moves is called its frequency. And resonance is the phenomenon by which one frequency of energy affects another and brings it into resonance with itself. And hence we have the term to resonate with. So I hope this clarifies for you some of these terms, because they're often not used correctly. So vibration is movement, creates a sound. Sound creates light. Light creates frequency, which is the speed of light. So the key piece is what creates the movement. And the movement is created by consciousness. So all the physical world is made from energy that is summoned into form by consciousness. So we're now going to just explore how this can occur. And so in front of you, you can see the electromagnetic spectrum, or the light spectrum. So light is waves of energy moving at different frequencies or different speeds. Some can be seen with the physical eye, and some we can't see unless our vision is open to receiving these higher frequencies. And that is something that is happening more and more these days. I found on my own journey that the more I expanded my awareness, the more the greater my vision became. And I think that is happening for many people now in this great awakening. But you can see from the table that there are still many pieces of the light spectrum that are invisible to the human eye. The important factor to note here is that the light energy holds information, and the information it holds is the, if you like, the instructions for creating form. So these are sacred geometry and mathematical formula. And I'm sure you've all been seeing some, or maybe some of you have been seeing certain numbers repeating over and over again. And this is because you're becoming aware of some of the coding. Remember, I mentioned the word coding at the beginning of the presentation. So light is configured by fractal geometry into shapes that are based on mathematical formulae by the intelligence inherent in the intelligent space. And so these are the Platonic solids, which are the building blocks of all form in every dimension. And then we have cymatics, which is now able to show us the shapes of sound, or this is some of the shapes of sound. And cymatics is the study of visible sound and vibration. So by sending sound waves through matter, such as sand on a plate, various geometric patterns emerge depending on the frequency and amplitude of the sound being played. This is one way to see the geometry of creation. The other way that we can see the geometry of creation is through crystals. And some of you may know the work of Masaru Emoto, the work that he's done with water, and the different crystals that are formed by different vibrations of being. So the love vibration brings up one beautiful crystalline structure, whereas the hate vibration brings up a gross and awful rendition. So we can see these, this is science helping us understand how we're built. This is just to show you the nature of fractals and the geometry that I'm speaking of here. So all form is based on the spin of particles around an axis of energy, as we saw at the beginning in the spectrograph of the atom. And so shapes and forms, proportions and rhythms are really nature's toolbox of expression and of evolution. And these recurring patterns are called fractals. And the person that first discovered that fractals are nature's patterns of evolution, and that math could demonstrate that shape is built into the numbers, was a chappie called Benoit Mandelbrot. I think sometime in the 1980s he discovered this, and this fractal that you can see in front of you is a very famous one from his mathematical equations. And you can see how it repeats and repeats and repeats. So, the three most important things you need to know about energy. There's a lot more than this, but these are the basics that really give us an understanding of how matter is created and brings into form everything that we see in our reality. So The first one is that physical matter can be a wave and it can be a particle. It can't be both at the same time. A wave and particles collapse into form when they are observed. This is what the law of superposition means. So this means when you close your eyes, just close your eyes for a minute, and there's nothing there, right? Now open them and you can see a reality in front of you. And what you're actually doing is, by observing the space in front of you, you are creating, by collapsing form, the wave or the particles into a form based on your consciousness, based on your cognition. How cool is that? This is how we create our reality. And this has been proved in an experiment. And that experiment is in the Quantum Keys if you want to dig it up. Or if you're interested, if you don't believe me, I can send it to you in an email just so you can read about it. The third law is the law of entanglement. Most importantly, this is about how once particles are connected, they're always connected across time and space. And so this allows for the interconnectedness of all life that everyone is speaking of, but nobody understands really. So this allows for everything to be connected, because it is. It allows for telepathy, it allows for remote viewing, it allows for remote energy transference, it allows for all of the things that we once thought as superpowers or supernatural to become the norm in these times. So when particles of energy move, they create a field. Energy holds information in packets of light, arranged in fields according to the frequency of the light. So we now know that the frequency of light means the speed that the light is moving, which also is related to the color that we see with our physical eyes. So the entire cosmos consists of interconnecting fields of energy that have been projected out to form the cosmic hologram from the quantum field. And so this is a diagram of the cosmic hologram. And I'm sorry, it does not do justice to the incredible nature of our universe, because it's two-dimensional. It's a flat drawing, but it's the best I can do on a presentation. Maybe when we go into meditation, we will be able to experience this in a different way. But for now, we have to accept a drawing, I'm afraid. And so there are, in our universe currently, there are 15 different frequency bands of light creating the holographic universe. And you can see there D1 to D15. So forgive me, I can't do any better than a flat drawing for the moment. And I just wanted to relate this to our being, our human energy body. So there you can see on the left-hand side the frequency bands. And many of you, particularly those of you who are into the healing arts, will be familiar with the 7 chakras that feed the body, the 7 energy centers. A chakra means an energy center. And you can see from the diagram where they feed, the base, the root chakra, starting at the bottom, the base of the body, the sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown. So there are 9 centers that feed the body. D8 and D9 also are positioned in the body, and then the rest are outside the body. And these give reference to our galactic connections and to the connection to the earth and also to the universal energies. So I don't want to go in, this is a topic all on its own, quite honestly, and I don't want to get too involved with it just at the moment. If you're interested, I can do another presentation to go into it in a much deeper way. So again, these centers are just basically portals into these different dimensions of our universe, of our own being, of the planet. The planet has the same energy centers that we do. So it's quite, so again, it's hard when we're just looking at a flat drawing, but if you can imagine that these are portals into a different frequency of energy that is resonating and vibrating at a different color. Some are visible, some are invisible. Some people can see them all, some people don't see any. Doesn't matter, doesn't mean they don't exist. And here is just a final attempt to give you a visual of how this works. So each field of energy is nesting in the one above it. So it's a little bit like a Russian doll, yeah? That kind of thing. That's a good descriptor of how the energy field, the human energy field, looks. So just want to mention in the human field, the human energy field, that is electromagnetic in nature. Some of the fields are electric, which is the masculine. So when I say masculine and feminine, this has nothing to do with gender, it's all to do with energy. So the electric energy is masculine and tends to be structured with various geometries, whereas the feminine energy is wave-like and magnetic. It's more in wave form. And unfortunately, the drawing doesn't really do justice to that description, but nevertheless, that's the way we are constructed. Each of the energy centers, which we said were portals, and here, let's just talk about the 7 that feed the body, or the 8 or 9 that belong to the body. Each have a different number of vortices. Each is supplying a different part of the body. They represent different elements. And I think I've got a slide. Here we go, yeah. This slide shows you the enormity of what the chakras actually represent. So you can see at the top which ones are masculine, which ones are feminine, what colours they are, the location, the number of vortices, the endocrine gland that they feed, because they do feed this system, And that supplies energy to those parts of the body on the table. Again, the table's in the book if you're interested. They are referring to different elements of the earth and also represent access to a different field of consciousness. We've got our birthright to exist, feel, think, love, express, perceive, to know. So they have a different meaning or different focus. The psychological focus, whether it's physical existence, right the way through to, our self-expression, our power, identity, connection to the higher self. And each one is associated with positive aspects of our being, as well as dysfunctional aspects, which is the lower part of this table, both psychological and physical dysfunctions. So it's a quite useful table. I have found it quite useful when I'm working with others. And so there's just a couple more pieces. So that is the field of energy, which forms the human energy field, or fields of energy forming the human energy field. Then we have another field, which is the field of Hara. Again, with its own portals, which you can see on the diagram. And this is a different type of energy. This is a scalar energy, and that means that it's not moving, it's a standing field, as opposed to an electromagnetic field, which is moving and wave-like, and vibrating and modulating. A scalar field is a standing field that simply radiates out. And it forms the basis of the energy field because it is the field of intention, which brings into form the energy to create matter, or to create whatever objects we see. And remember, we're doing this on an individual basis and also on a collective basis. So in a sense, the field of intention, or the Hara dimension, is kind of forms the blueprint for what is to be created, what is to be manifested, what we can see with our physical eyes. And it's a different energy field. And then finally, I really just wanted to bring this forth because this is who we all truly are. And this is the underlying essence that the whole of our created reality rests on, and the whole of our physical body, our mental body, our emotional self, all of it, all of the different fields we've seen come from our core essence. So this is what it looks like when there are no distortions. But the unfortunate thing is that many people are not connected fully to their core essence because of various processes that have occurred that prevent that from connecting up. And we're going to look at how that works in the next presentation. But I just wanted to show, I think this is such a beautiful beautiful expression. And I just wanted everyone to know that this is what the core star of each one of you looks like. Actually, it looks, there are more iridescent colors. It's not pure white. It has, like, you can see that almost the very, very pale shades in there. But it is most beautiful, and it is possible for us all to get to experience this. And it is a most beautiful experience. And some of you may have already experienced your own core essence. So, here we have the ending of this segment, and I look forward to seeing you again in part 2, which is going to be all about consciousness. So thank you so much for staying with me for this time, and looking forward to being with you again very soon.